Hello, I'm Steve Gladis, and I'm going to give you a kind of an overview of a book that I did called The Four Critical Elements of a Great Team Leader. And what I want to do today is just kind of give you a real overview, kind of a 50,000-foot view of this thing. This is the culmination of about 2 or 3 decades worth of research and writing that I've done, over 25 books, and maybe hundreds of articles that I've done in different magazines and different publications. I wanted to pull together something, honestly, that I thought was, you could give a new leader, somebody who's just emerging in a leadership role, and say, here's something, if you take a look at this, it's going to give you a pretty good bedrock. And you'll notice the triangle that's in front of you now, hopefully. You'll see a series of triangles within triangles. In the middle is the word trust, and that's the first thing a leader has to do, is establish trust. We'll talk about that in just a second. The second thing is, great leaders have to treat people well. That sounds simple, but there's some stuff involved in that about how you actually do that. Then establishing a culture. Edgar Schein at MIT talks about culture as the way we do things around here. What's the atmosphere that we live in? And how does a great leader establish a healthy culture and atmosphere? And then finally, executing. Great leaders execute on strategy. It's no good unless you get stuff done, right? Essentially, that's right. Let's take a look first of all at the first triangle within the triangle is trust. Think of trust as a trust triangle. It's about character. Are you honest? Do you tell the truth? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Secondly, are you competent? Not only competent in the job that you do and the job that you're supervising, but also competent as a team leader. You know what you're doing as a team leader. And then finally, do you care? Those are the 3 C's. In caring, it goes an awful long way with people. Those 3 things: character, competence, and do you care about me not just as a cog in the wheel, but also do you care about me as a person? Do you care about my kids and my family and the way I spend my time? Those 3 things form their trust triangle, and without one of them, the trust triangle collapses. Aristotle was the one who first discovered that. I did a bunch of research on the book called The Trusted Leader. Came out, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. They actually found out after doing literature search on that Aristotle was right. The 3 C's. He called them something different, but it's basically the same thing. So the second piece of this mega triangle that we showed you in the beginning is treating people well, treating folks well who work for you, and one of the ways you do that is through creating a diverse workforce, and by diversity, what we mean is not just gender diversity or even age diversity or race diversity, although those are very important. A guy named Scott Page at the University of Michigan did a lot of work on this, and he found out that really what we're talking about here is cognitive diversity. Great leaders develop teams who think differently, and this takes great leadership to do. Bringing in people who don't think like you and who think differently is sometimes kind of painful. A lot of times we try to bring in people who reflect ourselves, but that's not what Page talks about. He says the real power comes in cognitive diversity, looking at things from different angles. The second thing great leaders do is engage people in things that they're interested in and good at. I remember what I used to do when I was in the FBI and at the University of Virginia was I would always ask people when they came in, what do you like to do? And as much as I can give them what they like to do, performance improves greatly. So one of the ways, and there are ways to find out what they're really good at, and we're going to talk about that in the longer version that we do of this. And finally, autonomy. Do we have autonomy? Do we give people autonomy? This is what coaching allows people to do, is give them autonomy. And one of the things that we push a lot in the work that I do is the idea of coaching, asking questions, letting people solve their own problems. So those are when it comes to treating people well, it's diversity, engagement, and autonomy. The third triangle that you may have seen up there is the supportive structure, this creating the culture, the way we do things around here, as Edgar Schein at MIT once said. There are 3 things required for that. The atmosphere has to be safe. People have to feel good and safe about themselves, able to bring up things that isn't necessarily comfortable, but they feel safe to talking truth to power. So that's the first rung. The second is people need to feel connected. Once they feel safe, they need to feel connected to a team. We're social animals. We need to be connected. We have great power when we're connected. In fact, the thing that separates us from other animals, and particularly mammals, is that we can connect to people across many venues. That ability to connect to a lot of people is what makes us powerful as creatures, right? And then the third thing is that we be purpose and meaningfully driven and purposefully driven. That we not only have significance and meaning in our day-to-day activities, that we bring them back to something that counts to us, but also we work toward a long-term purpose in our lives. We try to develop this idea of a long-term purpose, and helping people on that journey feel safe, feel connected, and feel purpose-driven at work makes a huge difference in the performance that they display. And then the final thing is great leaders promulgate and execute on the strategy. They develop the why. They tell people what their mission is. They tell teams, they express what their mission is. People know exactly what their mission is. Why do we exist? That's the answer you have to come up with as a great team leader. You have to tell people, why do you exist? What if you didn't exist? What would go wrong? All right. So developing the why, and then talking about the what, or the goals going forward, the big goals. We're going to do this. We're going to have this much in sales. We're going to do this much in business next year. We're going to build this. We're going to do that. These are big overarching goals that people have to see after they know what the vision is. And then finally, the how. We break it down into, great leaders break it down into objectives, things that you can measure. What's going to be done, who's going to do it, and when's it going to get done? It's all about accountability. And those are really the four big elements that we talk about here for a great team leader. Trust, developing people, developing a culture, and executing on a strategy. Thanks for listening. This is Steve Gladis, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll come back for more. Thank you.